The board meeting to order. Today is Wednesday, January 28th, 2026, and it is 10:17 a.m. Ms. Cicchetti, if you would please call the roll.
Good morning, everyone. Chair Lieber.
Present.
Vice Chair Gaines.
Present.
Member Schaefer.
Present.
Member Vasquez.
Present.
Deputy Controller Emron.
Present.
Okay, members, a quorum is present, and the board meeting is called to order. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would please stand, and we'll be led today by Vice Chair Gaines.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I think I might be having a little difficulty with an echo in my microphone. Don't have a cell phone near it. So we'll just keep moving and we'll check that out as we go. Okay, is that better? Okay, we'll try that. That sounds a lot better. Okay, fantastic. We will move on to our member opening remarks. If any, are limited to 3 minutes each, and we'll go to our vice chair first.
Okay. It's with a heavy heart that I stand here today to remember my dear colleague and friend, Congressman Doug LaMalfa. And I had the privilege of serving alongside Doug, as did our chair, in the state assembly and for a period in the Senate for many years. And we worked side by side on issues that mattered most in our rural communities in Northern California. Doug was a fourth-generation rice farmer from Oroville, a true son of the North State. He brought that same grit and common sense approach from his family farm to the Capitol. In the Senate, I watched him fight tirelessly for water rights, property protections, and relief from overregulation that threatened family farms and small businesses. When he moved to Congress in 2013, representing California's 1st District, Doug carried that same dedication forward. He championed our agriculture, forestry management, wildfire prevention, and infrastructure in our rural areas. He fought to keep American farmers feeding the world while protecting our way of life from federal overreach. Doug was authentic to the core. He loved his family, his faith, and his region with unwavering conviction. He led the effort for a Bible study in the Capitol when I was there, which I attended along with the work of Pastor Frank Erb, who we're going to hear from soon. And I just wanted to share a little personal story, but you know, I'm a car guy, and I know that David is too. And so was Doug LaMalfa. So we'd have great conversations about cars, and he liked muscle cars, in particular Ford Mustangs. And I remember we went to an event in the North State in his district, and of course he'd always drive his muscle car to the events. And it just so happened I had my daughter with me, and she loved Mustangs, and I had told him about that, and he goes, well, let me take her for a test drive. So he found that we were in an area that was pretty rural, and he was burning a little rubber as he took off with my daughter in the front passenger seat. But she, to this day, remembers that, and it was really thrilling. And that was Doug. He was he had a couple of different muscle cars, but just a great down-to-earth guy that I think always tried to work across the aisle. That was always my sense of him, and very authentic, and he will be greatly missed. He had a great family, I think 4 children, if I'm recalling correctly. And so there'll be challenges not having him. He served I mean, he worked all his life, really, because he was a farmer, and then he served in the legislature. He never really got the opportunity to retire, but I know he's in a better place. So God bless Doug LaMalfa, his family, and the many people whose lives he touched. Thank you.
Members, please stand in honor of Doug, a great public servant. Just take 30 seconds to remember him and his dedication to the state of California. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just add a note before we go on to Mr. Vasquez that the overwhelming impression of Doug LaMalfa that everyone, every single person was left with was a real true gentleman, a very generous man, both in his teachings about the issues relating to agriculture, the way he led his family, and just his demeanor within the Capital community was so impressive. There were many, many connections across party lines due to Doug LaMalfa that no one even really knows the story of. But a real California gentleman through and through. And so we'll go on now to Mr. Vasquez.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Vice Chair, for sharing that. You know, I never had the opportunity to meet him, but I heard a lot of good things about him. And as we talk about, and I'm a big muscle guy, car guy, so I'm sure we would have had a good time had I had the opportunity to sit with them.
Yes, yeah.
But yeah, and it's sad, given these times that we're seeing on, not only in California, but in the U.S. right now that are going on. And public servants, you know, while we all take this risk, you know, he happened to fall short. I think he was only 65. He was young. But with that, I'd like to just open up with a few moments to speak on behalf of a couple things that just happened recently. And for many of us, you know, we just finished celebrating and honoring Dr. Martin Luther King, you know, and I'm sure you all participated. I had the opportunity to participate in our parade back in LA this last Monday, the 19th, and it just reminded me of all the activities that he was doing, you know, during his whole lifetime. You know, he traveled throughout LA, well, throughout the whole country, but in LA he had such a big impact, especially during the Democratic Convention back in 1960. And then, of course, during the whole civil rights, you know, movement, specifically the Watts Rebellion that happened in '68. I remember as a kid, everybody was really worried about, you know, things that were going to just blow up. And he had such a calming effect and did it all in a very peaceful way, even though sometimes he was treated with violence. And just wanted to, honor and recognize him for all his duties and responsibilities that he had. I mean, additionally, you know, he had thousands of people participating with him on several of his marches and rallies throughout the country. So I just wanted to mention that. The other big thing, the second one, I guess, for me is, as we think about the contributions that King did, especially around Black History Month, which is coming up in February, right around the corner. And then I'm reminded of this young man, actually he's from California, Alex Arnolds, I believe it was, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, you know, who just finished scaling this building, and I believe you're a climber yourself.
Well, no, I'm not, but I admire what he did.
Yeah, without any ropes.
With
or
El
any
Capitan, right?
He
With
did
no
El
ropes.
Capitan not too long ago, and now he just did this building recently, which, you know, without any harnesses or ropes, and it was just amazing. Apparently, it was up like 1,667 feet tall, this building. I just can't imagine. I mean, I think I'm not afraid of heights, but when I get in some of these tall buildings and I look out the window, and we're inside of a building, here this guy's sitting outside, so just wanted to give him kudos for that.
Was that in LA? I'm just curious.
I believe it was actually, the tower was, what did it say? It was, it doesn't say.
That's all right. It's
Yeah.
quite a feat. Wow.
It was, the building's named the Taipei, Taipei 101.
Taipei.
Taipei, right? Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm assuming it was out,
Thank
but
you.
yeah, it was just unbelievable when you look at it. And last but not least, I just wanted to, literally, the cost of lives as we're seeing these folks, poor folks that are trying to support and help many of our workers, not only here in California, but throughout the country. What just happened in Minnesota, I just can't believe what's going on. Taking somebody's life, whether you agree or disagree with somebody, is just such a hard thing to do. And I know many of us, might have differences with folks, but it's heartening to see that what's going on in the country right now. And hopefully, as we see more electeds engaging in this effort, that we're hopefully able to convince our federal government to maybe stay down a little bit and hopefully not be so aggressive on this issue with immigration. In my district, just last week, we had this poor man who was following all the procedures. He actually went in for his appointment to deal with immigration, and he got detained, and they sent him out. And, as much as they say they're trying to go after the drug dealers, which I get, people that are criminals, but we're finding so many people that are just trying to do work, trying to survive, and are getting picked up and detained and shipped. And it's just breaking up a lot of families, so it's kind of sad to see that. But with that, I'll turn it back to our chair.
Thank you. And we'll go to Mr. Schaefer now.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm most impressed by the civil rights legislation that came out of the Lyndon Johnson administration, but that was prodded by, and I think developed by, Martin Luther King. There were many presidential conferences between Martin Luther King and LBJ, and LBJ ended up being one of the leading presidents on civil rights we've ever had, and so that's very important. And when I joined city government at age 27, city and county government were all white, and we did have our first black member of the city council, who went on to become the first black member of the Board of Supervisors, and California elected its first black superintendent of education. So, it's just a rolling ball of progress, starting with Martin Luther King. I had significant comments on a couple of other things. I always mention a birthday. Today is Alda's 90th birthday from MASH. I never met Alan, but I knew Captain B.J. Honeycutt, who's Mike Farrell, and Mike's lifetime crusade is anti-death penalty. He travels around the country and speaks to governors and legislatures against the death penalty. And I've had lunch with him and presented him as a speaker, and so I have a lot of respect for that progress meeting too. But I think the most important thing today I want to mention is because I'm from an aerospace capital, San Diego. We had more aircraft plants there than anywhere in World War II. We knew we were going to be bombed as the next target after Pearl Harbor. It never happened. But today is the 40th anniversary of the Challenger accident. The spacecraft happened in 1986. Today, that's when we lost Kristen McAuliffe, who was the first teacher in space. And she led such a rich life. I've been reading up on her. She didn't want to be a celebrity at all. She said, when people ask me for an autograph, I think I'm signing hall passes for my students. And she said, when I'm through with this, I want to go right back to the classroom. I can't wait to get there. And that was such a wonderful thing. The sad moment of it is that in America, every classroom in the country brought in a television set so the students could watch the first teacher in space, and all they got was to be eyewitness to a tragedy. And, that's the downside of it. But I'm so impressed with the short life that Kristen McAuliffe led, and she's an inspiration to all teachers today. She had a backup that is going forward in space too, a secondary teacher. So that's 40 years ago. We've come a long way. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Emron.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Good morning to you all. Such a great way to start the year together. And California is an exciting time here. The controller and I are both very excited. California is going to host the Super Bowl in a couple weeks. We're going to be hosting several World Cup games, several major conferences. It's a time for the Golden State to certainly be golden. But I want to begin on a more solemn topic. I want to recognize January as Human Trafficking Awareness and Prevention Month. It's a time for California to renew its focus on confronting one of the most serious human rights violations. Human trafficking is a modern form of exploitation. It thrives on vulnerability, often remains hidden, and causes profound lasting harm to survivors. In the sex trafficking industry, the average age of entry is 16 years old, with some young girls as young as 11 or 12 years old. California must play a critical role in this fight to talk about these major events, but our state has also consistently reported some of the highest trafficking numbers in the nation. The Human Trafficking Hotline in the past year has identified more than 1,700 potential trafficking cases, over 3,600 victims. These figures underscore the challenges we face. And our size, our global economy, our major ports, our international connections make us a state both of destination and a transit point. And that leads to a responsibility, a heightened responsibility, and that leadership requires strong coordination, public awareness, accountability to ensure economic activity in our state is lawful, transparent, and free from modern-day slavery. So I continuously hope that we promote this issue that is not always talked about. And also, in more lighter news, as I left San Francisco on Monday, there's an incredible frenzy because a mountain lion was on the loose in the city. And it's not something you see every day, it's quite rare. And there's a video in one of my favorite parks in Pacific Heights. It takes me about 20 steps to get up there, and this mountain lion from the street takes this huge jump into the park. But luckily there was a good and happy solution at the end. It was tranquilized, they found it, and it was safely and humanely transported out of San Francisco. It's gonna be released back into the wild. And I wanna thank the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, the San Francisco Zoo, San Francisco PD for their response. It was a 2-year-old mountain lion baby boy, 80 pounds, and I saw some pictures, such a beautiful, majestic creature, and I hope that we continuously preserve nature and really shine a light and really appreciate how beautiful it is. And they were tracking it, Member Lieber, it was actually came from Saratoga. So think about that, that's over 80, 90 miles away for it to find its way into a downtown metropolitan area. But we just hope that we continuously appreciate what we have in front of us. So good news all around, and thank you again. Excited for this year.
Well, thank you so much. And that was a great ending to that story, that they were able to move him out of there. So we're going to go on now to our safety and administrative announcement. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, again. First, I'd like to remind the audience to silence their cell phones and their wireless devices. Our safety announcement: in the auditorium, the exits are located on each side of the stage at the front, with additional exits at the rear. Please take a moment to locate the exit sign and the closest exit to you in the event of an emergency. Our informational announcement: this board meeting will be live streamed to the public and posted on the BOE website. Public comments are taken on each agenda item. If there are any members of the public wishing to speak before the board on any agenda item in person, we ask that you complete and submit to the Sergeant of Arms a public comment appearance sheet located at the entrance of the auditorium. If you wish to speak before the board by telephone, please dial in to the phone number and access code provided on our public agenda notice and follow the instructions of the AT&T moderator. When giving a public comment, please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. We also ask that all speakers in the auditorium or on the AT&T line state their name before speaking for the record. This concludes the safety and informational announcements. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we're ready to go on to item 1 now, and this is our public comment on matters not on the agenda. It's the item for people who wish to address the board on items that are not on the agenda, and the board cannot act on anything that isn't on our noticed agenda. However, we can schedule issues raised by the public at future meetings. Remarks for the public are limited to 3 minutes, and we have a very special guest joining us today, who is Pastor Frank Erb, who is someone who is very well known to the Capital community and has been providing service to the Capital community since 2008 and possibly before. And I'd like to welcome him to come up to our podium. Mr. Schaefer was gracious enough to arrange for Pastor Erb to be here today and provide a New Year's message for us. And so we're very thankful to have you here in person, Pastor.
Thank you so much. It's a great honor to be here. Appreciate it very much. Yes, so my name is Frank Erb. I've served since 2008 as was mentioned, as a full-time non-denominational pastor in our California state capitol, availing myself to all of our statewide leaders and constitutional officers, including yourselves, members. So thank you for allowing me to be here today. And also our state senators and assembly members and their staff and everybody at the Capitol, sergeants at arms, lobbyists, state employees. I'm not a state employee, but I do this at the request of many who serve in our state government, including with the kind endorsement of some of you who serve on this esteemed board. So thank you. I actually started in this at the request of a friend of mine and other members, and that was Doug LaMalfa at the time. So nice to see and hear him honored this morning. I had been Doug's pastor for a number of years, and his family were very kind to me in that role. And then when I moved away, continued to stay in touch with him when he got elected to the assembly. And then he was inviting me in to visit the Capitol when he was an assembly member. And then he and other members felt the need for somebody to serve in this way. There had been some others doing it who were leaving. And so got a call from Doug, and he said there had been some discussion and they were inviting me to come in. And so that was a bipartisan group of assembly members and senators, and I was very honored to do so. And I've been doing it all these years since. And so as such, I'm available to meet anytime with any of you for personal pastoral prayer or encouragement or counsel or whatever I can do, and I would be honored to serve in that way. And I'd also like to invite each of you to our weekly Bible discussion gatherings that I teach inside the Capitol every week for 17 years. One is on Wednesday mornings at 8 a.m., just for senators and assembly members, statewide leaders, constitutional officers, and plus 2 others on Tuesdays and Wednesdays for staff and everybody else in addition. And then also happy to start another meeting any day, anytime, any place, including right here with you. So just say the word. But I'm grateful for the opportunity to be asked to start with an invocation here today as you begin a new year together. You know, this idea of opening government meetings with an invocation is a long-held tradition dating back to the very beginning of our country. It actually dates back to the Constitutional Convention in 1787, when our nation's founders gathered to draft the U.S. Constitution. And on June 28th, 1787, as the debates and disagreements seemed to stretch on and achieve nothing, can you relate to something like that? The esteemed elder statesman, you've heard of him, Benjamin Franklin, stood and addressed the president of the Constitutional Convention. And this is what he said, quote, "In this situation of this assembly, groping as it were in the dark to find political truth, and scarce able to distinguish it when presented to us, how has it happened, sir, that we have not hitherto once thought of humbly applying to the Father of lights to illuminate our understanding? I have lived, sir, a long time, And the longer I live, the more convincing proofs I see of this truth, that God governs in the affairs of men. And if a sparrow cannot fall to the ground without his notice, is it probable that an empire can rise without his aid? We have been assured, sir, in the sacred writings, that except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it. I firmly believe this, and I also believe that without his concurring aid, we shall succeed in this political building no better than the builders of Babel. We shall be divided in our little partial local interests, our projects will be confounded, and we ourselves shall become a reproach and a byword down to future ages. I therefore beg leave to move that henceforth prayers imploring the assistance of heaven and its blessings on our deliberations be held in this assembly every morning before we proceed to business, and that one or more of the clergy of this city be requested to officiate in that service. And so they did. This practice, recommended by Benjamin Franklin, spread far and wide, and in fact, our U.S. Congress and our California State Senate and Assembly have always opened every legislative session in prayer, both houses of U.S. Congress. And even our own California State Constitution, as you know, begins with the words, "We, the people of the state of California, grateful to Almighty God." And you stood for a Pledge of Allegiance that since the 1950s has included the phrase, "One nation under God." And so with all this in mind, it is wise for us to invoke Almighty God for this meeting and the proceedings of the year. And so let's do so now. Almighty God, you are often called the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And so we ask you to guide and bless the proceedings of our state government, and in particular, this Board of Equalization today and throughout this year. We know from your word that you care about government, and you offer to bless those in government who seek your aid. And so I ask you to bless these board members and their staff, bless them with the kindness and the compassion needed to care about others, the humility needed to put the needs of others first, the intelligence and attentiveness needed to sort through the complex matters they will address, the wisdom needed to make wise decisions, the integrity needed to do all this honestly and righteously, and the energy and health needed to be productive. These are all a gift from you, and so we seek these from you. In summary, we ask you to guide and bless each one here today and in this year ahead. Thank you, Lord. And we ask this in your mighty name. And I personally ask it in the name of Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. Amen. Thank you, members.
Thank you so much for being here with us today, Pastor Erb. And I think you've set a very good note for the year ahead. Now, as January goes on, you kind of lose that tingly feeling of a bright, open year ahead, but I think you've reestablished it here, and we very much appreciate it. So I think I haven't overextended myself in commenting on comments under public comment. Vice Chair, did you have a quick one?
I'll keep it brief, but I just want to thank Frank because I've met with him on a regular basis for I don't know how many years, but it's been a long time, and found him very helpful in trying to sort out things in life. And for any of you that's interested, that's available to you. But when I'm in crisis mode, I give Frank a call and say, hey, can you give me some perspective? And we're going through a lot of challenges right now in this country, right? And so I just, I literally pray that we can keep ourselves bound as a nation. And I know there's always challenges in politics, but quite frankly, it's secondary to the bigger picture in life and what God has for us. So thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you, and again, we appreciate you being here, Pastor Erb, and we appreciate you raising once again the name of Doug Lamalfa, our dear friend. Thank you. And now we'll go to our AT&T moderator to ask if there's anyone waiting on the line who would like to make a public comment on items not on the agenda.
Yeah, AT&T moderator, is there anyone on the line who'd like to make a public comment regarding this item? AT&T moderator, are you there? Hello?
Yeah, we hear you. If you'd like to queue up, please press 1 and then 0.
Okay, it's
And we have no one in queue.
like no one's there. Okay, fantastic. Well, we'll keep on moving here, and we'll go on to item 2, the board member matters. This item is an overview of the governor's proposed budget for 2026-2027, and this was requested by our state controller, and will be prefaced by Mr. Emron.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Trying to start a kind of a tradition here to make sure that the board members as constitutional officers are up to date on the governor's proposed budget. So I would like to ask a great colleague, Erica Lee, Chief Deputy Director of Budgets, if you want to come on up. She's from the California Department of Finance. We work very closely together. Just a little bit of a biography. She was appointed by Governor Newsom in 2020. She has worked several years at the LAO. She was a researcher at the California Institute of Technology. She was a special education teacher in the past, and she holds a master's in public policy from the University of Michigan. So thank you for coming time and time again. Really appreciate it, and you can proceed when you're ready.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for another invitation. Thank you, Pastor. I feel blessed having followed that invocation. And I believe this is my 4th time here presenting the governor's budget to you. So thank you for the invitation yet again. And thank you for the introduction. Erica Lee, the Chief Deputy Director of Budget at the Department of Finance for California. I want to present to you some numbers as we normally do for the budget, but before I do that, I want to explain a little bit of the approach that the governor took this year as we enter into his final budget for 26-27. First, it is balanced, as it must be constitutionally, for the budget year, which is 26-27. But this budget recognizes something that we started discussing last year publicly at hearings, both at the administrative side and the legislative side, that we are looking at long-term structural imbalances. So beyond 26-27, we are looking at out-year deficits of over $20 billion in the following years beyond 26-27. And that's obviously concerning for the sustainability of core programs to millions and millions of Californians. And so while this governor's budget does not address the out-year problems, only the budget year problems, it acknowledges that they exist and the fact that we need to work with the legislature to actually come up with solutions to address the deficit in the out years. And the reason this governor's budget proposal does not address those out years is because we need updated revenue numbers, which will come in the spring, and we need to really understand what our expenditures are looking like. So to solve for this coming year and the second year after that is the goal of the governor and of this administration. And we've already begun reaching out to leadership, members of the legislature, because we can't do that by ourselves. And that is something that we need to partner with the legislature on. So more to come on that. This is a little bit of a preview of what we currently are looking at in terms of our numbers, both on the revenue side and on the expenditure side. So to start with, here come the big numbers. Our budget is about $350 billion. That is the proposed budget for 26-27. That's all funds. If you look at just the general fund, that's $250 billion. This is about $20 billion more proposed this year than at last year's budget. And this is where I think, there's been a lot of discussion about revenues. So we are tracking revenues at this point to be roughly $42 billion higher than we were anticipating at the close of last year. So $42 billion more, which is a great thing. It does mean that our economy has been chugging along very well. We have had strength in revenues largely because of capital gains, our personal income tax withholding, strong cash receipts. So we're seeing a lot of real-time dollars come in that we hadn't anticipated. I would know, and this is something that shouldn't be a surprise, but maybe be a surprise to some people, that our tax structure is significantly progressive. And so when we have high income earners earning a lot capital gains and it brings in a lot of capital gains and PIT income tax to the state, and that's largely is a small population of people, and then specifically on the corporate side, it's a very small number of corporations that are basically contributing to that $42 billion. And I would say that, we're keeping a lookout because they're largely in the tech sector, and there's about a handful of them. So how they perform really impacts the revenues that come in, and thusly how we can, the dollars that we have to spend on program. So despite the $42 billion in excess revenue that's come in, we were still looking at about a $2.9 billion deficit in this year that we had to solve for. And I want to talk a little bit about why that is the case, because I think in a lot of people's minds, how do we have a deficit if we had $42 billion in excess revenue? Well, first of all, whenever we have revenue that comes in, and I think some of the members who were formerly in the legislature, you may have heard this if you were on budget, that we have Proposition 98, Proposition 2, we have constitutional calls on any dollar that comes in. So right from the top, Proposition 98, our educational financing model, takes about 40% of every dollar that comes in. And then you have Proposition 2, which the legislature, the administration, and former voters voted in 2014 to basically sock away more money in the rainy day fund. So that's the Proposition 2, which is pulling money into the reserve, and then Proposition 98, which is the education formula, takes dollars off of every dollar, takes a percent of every dollar that comes in. So that's constitutional. We have to spend those dollars there. And then we also had a shortfall starting in 26-27 of about $12.6 billion. So that ate up some of that $42 billion as well. Then I would say lastly, we had programs that are costing more than we thought they would cost. And we're seeing that largely in the health and human services space. So you have expenditures rising, you have calls on dollars that come in, and we had already started at a shortfall. The last thing I would say is we want to have a positive number in our state fund for economic uncertainty, which is one of our reserves. And so that number has been about $4 billion, $4.5 billion the last few years, just to acknowledge the uncertainty that is surrounding the world and California. And that's basically our checking account. And so we need to have a good amount of money in there in case of fires and in case of other disasters, natural disasters, because that is what we can tap in a given budget year. And so that's $4.5 billion. So you add all those things together, and it ate away at the $42 billion in excess revenues. So that left us with about $2.9 billion in a deficit. So that's sort of just the math at a very high level. And so how we solved for that was we didn't cut programs, we didn't delay things as we have done in the past. What we did was we paused what we call a true-up of dollars that would go into the reserve, and that was about $2.8 billion. So rather than putting that $2.8 billion into the reserve, we're saying we're going to hold on to that and use it to help solve the deficit problem. So all that means at this point is we are kind of in a wait-and-see phase to see what happens with revenues coming in the spring, to see if we will be in a better or worse position. And we will have the spring to work with the legislature to figure out, okay, if we do need to address a $20 billion problem in the following year, how would we go about doing that? What programs do we want to protect? What programs do we need to reduce? And I would add to that there's a lot of uncertainty around what is happening at the federal level and the impacts to our budget. And I'll explain a little bit more of that as I go on. But just wanted to paint to you the picture of how we got from all this revenue to still having a deficit. So we are stocking away about $23 billion in our reserves. So despite everything, we're still trying to build up our reserves because that's going to be really important for any future downturn. If we have a downturn, we want to make sure that our reserves are strong. So if we need to, we can tap into them. And that is, we are also paying more dollars towards our unfunded liabilities of about $3 billion in the budget year, and the plan is about $12 billion over the next 4 years, and that will help pay off some of our PERS and STRS liabilities on the pension side. So given all those numbers, we don't have a ton of new spending, but we also don't have a ton of cuts, right? Because we're kind of waiting and see. We are in a wait and see mode. So I would call this a workload budget. So what do we need to keep the lights on for the state? And then making further decisions in May at the May revision. So I'm just going to quickly, that's the sort of big overview. I'm going to quickly go into some of the details of what's actually in the budget, and then I'm happy to answer any questions that the may have. Okay, so Proposition 98, as I mentioned, is our education funding formula, and it is about, because of the influx of revenue, we're seeing an additional about $22 billion more going towards education, and that's over the 3-year period of last year, this year, and next year. And basically, that puts us at the highest funding level ever in education, which I think our governor, legislature, have been very proud to invest in education and educational programs over the last few years. We're looking at about $20,400 in general fund per pupil funding. If you add all funds, which includes federal funds in there as well, it's about $27,400 per pupil funding, and that is the highest funding level ever for our students. The one thing I want to note is, and I noted this last year, is I said there was about $22 billion in extra dollars going to the schools. We are holding back about $5.6 billion of that in what we call settle up. It's a technical term. It's basically, we're saying, because we don't know what the revenues are yet, we're not going to book all of that revenue towards Prop 98. There is a thing called certification, which happens for the year 25, 26, 2 years later. So next spring, we will know what all the revenues are. We'll have more certainty, and then we will true up the education number. So as of now, education is getting a whole lot more money, and they may get more, but we're gonna wait and see what the actual revenues are when they come in. On the higher education front, we are proposing about $760 million more ongoing for both the UC and the CSU system. That accounts for the 5th year of what we have had a compact with the UC and the CSUs and the community colleges to ensure that they're providing access and opportunities for students, more so than they had been in the past, so a commitment from them, and we as a state were providing an additional 5% bump for them every year. So this is the last 5% bump that we've included in this year's budget. On climate, you may recall that last year the voters approved a 2024 climate bond of $10 billion, and it's supposed to be allocated over multiple years. This is the 2nd year, and we are proposing allocating $2.1 billion of that according to what was in the proposition. And so you'll see that. I want to point out specifically, because a lot of people are very interested in, well, what are you spending on wildfire? We have $314 million of that is dedicated to wildfire landscape resilience projects that will help reduce the risks of wildfire. And that's on top of other dollars that are already baseline. So I think that's just important given the times. We have a new ZEV incentive of about $200 million in special funds that we are proposing to establish a new light duty ZEV incentive program. So it's to keep ZEVs affordable for and accessible for Californians. On the Health and Human Service front, I just want to point out a couple of things. One is that HR 1, so the bill that was passed and signed at the federal level that really makes some major changes to our Medicaid and our food, our SNAP program, is going to add an additional $1.4 billion of cost to the state, largely, and that's just in the budget year. It actually grows in the out years. So because the feds are reducing their ratio of what they are paying towards these programs, the state is responsible for 50% more now, for example, versus 25% of a cost share in CalFresh. And that is about a $300 million cost net next year, but that will grow to $1 and then $2 billion of additional cost for the state. So just wanted to point out, I mentioned the uncertainty of federal changes. This one isn't uncertain, like we already know this is happening because of HR 1. And what HR 1 did is it reduced eligibility, it increased work requirements, it is making changes to who is eligible to receive certain benefits. And so that is something that, we continue to work with CMS and on the Medicaid front and other federal agencies to better understand what is required. But we are also anticipating things in the future. And so hence the reason to have a larger reserve, just in case we need to tap into that. But I would also note, and I think it's important for people to understand that as the federal government reduces their support financially or reduces cost share ratios, that this state, even though we're the 4th largest economy in the world, we're not in a position to backfill those lost federal funds. And so we are constantly, understandably being asked by stakeholders to just backfill that. The feds are taking this out, so can the state backfill? And if you look at the numbers, we can't print money. We don't have the ability to backfill. But what we do have the ability to do is to have discussions and to see what priorities there are, again, of the administration, of the legislature, of stakeholders as we come together this spring to understand the real impacts to programs. And with the finite amount of dollars that we have or we will have, there's going to be some hard discussions about how to backfill some of those lost federal dollars. But for the most part, we can't backfill 100% of those lost dollars. And just a couple more things to highlight is childcare has been a huge priority both for the administration and the legislature, and we include about $89 million ongoing more for the childcare cost of living adjustment. And one thing that is in this budget addresses some of the hard-hit communities in LA after the fires. We have about $11.5 million funding for childcare infrastructure, and that's for facilities that were damaged during the Palisades and LA fires. And then I would say, lastly, there's a couple of tax proposals that were included. One is an extension of a current program called California Competes tax credit, and that is to get more businesses to invest here and create jobs in California. That has been extended by 5 years, so instead of ending at 27-28, it would end in 32-33. Another one is a tax credit incentive for companies that produce aviation fuel from renewable sources rather than crude oil. This is one example of a change at the federal level that impacts certain industries here in California, and so this tax credit would help to support some of those industries that have lost the support at the federal level. And lastly, the tax proposal called Marketplace Facilitators is included, and this basically requires third-party delivery services that facilitate orders through a website. So this is like Grubhub and DoorDash, and they would actually collect and remit taxes on behalf of the businesses rather than the businesses doing it on their own. So it's not a new tax. It's likely because it's going to be funneled to fewer companies, will result in greater tax compliance, but just want to point out it's not a new tax. So with that, I just want to thank you all for this opportunity to present on the governor's budget and answer any questions that you might have.
Well, thank you so much for that very complete presentation for us. And members, any questions for Ms. Lee? I'll go to Vice Chair and then Mr. Vasquez.
Yeah, thank you very much, Erica Lee, for your presentation. And I've got a few questions of clarification, if you could.
Sure.
And how much do we have left in the rainy day fund? Because we've been tapping into that, haven't we?
You're right. We did tap into it over 2 years. About $11.2 billion was taken out, but we currently have $14.4 billion.
Okay.
And proposed more in the next years beyond that. But to your point, recognizing it's a huge tool to address the ups and downs.
Yes.
And we are trying to rebuild that. So after having taken out billions to address past budget problems, we have to refill it so we can use it if we need it again in the future.
Yeah, I supported that in the legislature.
Yes.
I'm glad that there's money in it, and it looks like it's being used appropriately.
We think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Wealth tax of assets, we've got this proposition that they're talking about. I've been reading about billionaires moving out of the state last year. Do we have any sense of what the lost income is as a result of those individuals moving out?
So our department has been hearing anecdotally of that as well. Two things. One is it's anecdotal, and so we don't actually know how
Okay.
many there are. I think we may see some of that in the future.
Yes.
But I would just point to the LAO's write-up as part of their role in the proposition process. They have noted that such a tax could bring in billions, but there's a likelihood that it will also force millionaires to leave.
Right.
And so I think they acknowledge that there could be hundreds of millions of lost revenue. I think it's a real concern for us as we're thinking about the future forecasts, because as I stated earlier, it's a small group of people, it's a small group of businesses. So on the PIT side and on the corp side, it's very small groups that are contributing a lot of revenue to the
Yes.
state. So it is something that we are watching. And as you know, the governor, his stance on the wealth tax.
He's in opposition to it.
Correct.
Yes.
So we as a department don't take a stance on it, but I would
Yeah.
just say in terms of the numbers, again, to look at what LAO has said. And we also signed that letter at the Department of Finance, so I think we see the risk as well.
Yes. And is the number, the top 1% pay or generate half the tax revenue for the state?
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. All right. The unfunded liability, $3 billion going to PERS and STRS. I'm just curious as to, because there used to be a number, I'm sure there is, in terms of percentage funded, right? So if you project out in terms of the obligations for retirees, do you know what those percentages are for PERS and STRS?
Yeah, the last time I looked, they were both about 70%
Yeah.
funded.
Okay.
And, when we were having record returns post-COVID, I mean, it was closer to 80, 84, 85%. So it's down, but, 70 to 75% is what I've heard of the
Okay.
two systems in terms of their percent funded at this
Okay.
point. Yeah.
So that was, you were saying right after COVID? or
After
during?
COVID, when you had a lot of huge returns, I think we saw double-digit
Yes.
returns for both PERS and STRS in the 20s, I want to say.
Yes, okay.
They were much, the projected liability was less.
Yes.
And their funded status was greater, but now as it's still higher, I believe, than the 6% return that they have assumed, bringing them down to about 70, 75%.
Okay. And when I was in the legislature, STRS was in more trouble than PERS. So, and I remember Governor Brown did an allocation to help with that regard. So has there been improvement with STRS over the last, say, decade?
Yes. I can't cite the numbers for you, but yes.
Yeah, it's
We
improving.
had I think it was a 30-year plan under Brown to help fund at least the state's share of STRS. And then also, I would add, and you didn't mention this, but our OPEB liability, we also started addressing that by having employees pay into their post-retirement benefits like health.
Yes.
And so the funded status for that is down here, but we started it, and that's a good thing for
Yes.
long-term liabilities for the state.
Yeah, okay, that's great, wonderful. And the climate allegation, looks like a chunk of it's going to wildfire prevention, or?
Yes, I think it's, I don't know the specific programs, but it is to help prevent and mitigate more wildfires I think it's called like reinforcing, it's both for property and for land, I believe. And if you want more information, I can get that to you. But there's a chunk of the 2.1 billion that's being dedicated to wildfires.
That'd be
in-
great.
In this
if-
year.
If I could get more info on that, and then this will be my last statement. But I've seen quite a bit of improvement with the strike teams through CAL FIRE. I witnessed 3 fires within about a month up in El Dorado County, and they got those fires out, I mean, literally like within an hour. I could not believe how quick the response was. And I was talking to, he was the CAL FIRE director, Pimlott, who's retired now. And he said that the state had ordered 14 aircraft, but it took a couple of years to get those aircraft online and get them fitted. And there are more aircraft online now. So just some positive feedback that we're seeing improvement that's encouraging.
That's great, and
So-
I love hearing the positive, because we often hear the negative. But we have, over the past few years, invested both in people power, so more boots on the ground, and
Right.
also equipment. So,
Yes.
and it does take years to get some of the big machinery and the helicopters and, or helitechs, I think is what they're called.
Okay.
But we're seeing them out there now, and it does feel like the investments that were made in the past, we're actually seeing the results now.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Vasquez.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Ms. I always enjoy your presentation because it's very informative and you kind of bring us up to speed on what's going on, especially given these times. But there was a little bit of an echo. Did I hear correctly that on the rainy day fund, did you say 14 million?
14.4 billion. 14.4
Billion.
billion,
Okay,
yes.
that's
Yeah.
what I thought. I said it can't be million.
No.
And then on you kind of touched on the CalPERS, CalSTRS. Is CalSTRS still the world's largest educational pension fund? That's what I heard.
I believe so. I have not done comparisons lately, but just in terms of the number of members, I believe so, and I think the
'Cause
fund,
it's up to like 375 billion, I heard, right?
the fund itself,
The fund.
yeah, I don't have that number in front of me, but to your point, it is, if not the biggest, it is one of the biggest.
And at the end of the day, who has the ultimate decision on where they invest that? Is it your office, the governor, or who?
It is not it's definitely not our office. There's a board that governs both pension systems, but ultimately it's their investment staff, I guess, that make those portfolio decisions. So while we may encourage or discourage how they invest, the state doesn't have the ability or authority to do that directly. So it would be their investment staff. Some of them, I don't know if they are in-house or if they hire. I don't know the specifics of that, but they make the investment decisions,
Not you folks?
not
Okay.
not us.
That's what I had thought, but and then moving forward, I guess when we're looking at the budget being on time, the May revisions that are going to be coming shortly, or these publications, this will all be posted on the website now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And given that situation, the uncertainty, especially with the federal funding, on the reserves and our schools and Medi-Cal, as we're hearing what's going on the federal level, what are some of the programs you think that are going to be potentially critically impacted by that?
Well, we already know that Medicaid, Medi-Cal is the state's version of Medicaid, has already been impacted, as have food programs like the federal SNAP program or CalFresh here in California. We anticipate that hundreds of thousands of Californians will lose coverage for both Medicaid or SNAP benefits as a result of the changes in both who is eligible and the requirements that are being placed upon this population. So we are already anticipating that based on HR 1, that there will be fewer people on the Medicaid and on SNAP rolls. In the future, there could be more, and I'm not sure what programs the federal government is looking at, but we're hearing that, there's a desire to have states take on more of the fiscal responsibility than the feds.
And I guess as the state undergoes this whole process of the governor's reorg, especially on the state housing agent, with state housing agencies, what, if any, impact do you expect this will have on our budget?
So the reorganization that you're referencing was from this current year's budget, where we were trying to create a housing and homelessness agency. So that went through the Little Hoover process, and that was successful. They're still working through, kind of growing pains to figure out what exactly their baseline need is. Potentially, there could be additional asks in probably the low millions for staffing. But the idea is that there will be greater efficiencies having the program at just housing and homelessness together versus housing, homelessness, and consumer services in one agency, which is what it was prior.
And I guess my last question, I think you kind of touched on Prop 19 with the wildfire fund, the prevention fund. The whole, this reimbursement, or I guess it's supposed to be, it's supposed to generate, I guess when they sold it to the voters back in 2020, it was supposed to generate 10 million a year. Do you know what's in there? I keep hearing that there's very little, if anything.
Proposition 19, sorry.
Prop 19 was basically the intergenerational wealth as we know it. They stopped what used to allow folks to be able to will over properties to their kids without a tax burden. Now, you can only do one, and the one, it has a limit. So at the end of the day, some of these people that were smart enough, 30 years ago to invest, especially down in my neck of the woods, for example, in Venice, which is in my district, LA County, you could have bought a beach property down there for 20 to 30,000, and now it's worth millions. But because of Prop 19, they still could will it over to their kids, but it's going to come with a huge tax burden.
I see, yes.
With the understanding that it was going to generate money for the wildfire. And supposedly, I don't know who did this analysis, I don't know if it was your office or whose office did this, but they said, or they came out publicly and said that it was going to generate a minimum of 10 million a year.
Okay. Yes, and so, sorry, there's nothing in the budget on that, but I know now what you're talking about, and I can get you some more info on that.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Schaefer.
Thank you. I have two issues in my district that potentially can involve a lot of state expense, but it really should involve mostly federal expense. I'm talking about the toxic Tijuana pollution of water, which you're aware of. It's destroying the beaches and Imperial Beach, all the way up to Orange County, possibly. And then we have the San Onofre nuclear storage of waste. Can we just assume that the federal government's going to really protect us, and it's not all going to cost California that much money? Do you have any thoughts on that issue?
I am not an expert on that issue. I know of what you're speaking of, and I believe the state has invested in some of that cleanup. I could not say what the federal government will do in terms of an investment there. As I said, I know that there has been former state investments, and we continue to lobby the federal government. And currently, the governor was, I would just say, maybe a month back, was in DC to lobby for more wildfire recovery funding. And so there's definitely a push for California to get out to DC, ask for more funds where we can. That said, I don't have any insight into how the federal government has decided has decided to fund or not fund certain things. I would support the feds coming in to help with the cleanup there, but I don't have any information to share there.
Well, I represent the California taxpayers today, and I expect next year to represent the federal taxpayers, at least in Congressional District 48. So I'm interested in those two very expensive issues, and I appreciate your input and being aware of them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Imran.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Director Lee. Great presentation, very detailed. I have two quick questions. Last year, we talked about TK, the transitional TK, and you're still rolling that out. Has that been fully implemented now?
Yeah, so TK has been fully rolled out, and along with many other, I would say, transformative investments in education, like the before, after, and summer school program, and the extended learning program, community schools, there's been investments, there's an additional $1 billion in Prop 98 being invested there. So a lot of the investments on the Prop 98 side have been fully implemented, or this may be the year that they're being fully implemented. In large part, you're seeing what I said earlier is when we have a lot of money come in, Prop 98 takes a share of it. And so we have been trying to take advantage of that to build out these programs. So, and TK, universal TK has been one of the probably first priorities of the governor. And so as an administration, we are really proud to see that fully implemented.
Absolutely. I'm very proud of that as well, to see that as well. And then my last question, talking about this deficit and kind of the projections in the future, we always hear from our politicians about the stock market is booming. Can you kind of explain how that affects our budget and how California also is trying to bring in new industries, like San Francisco has some of the top AI companies in the world. And if they go public this year, do we have a brighter outlook in the future?
Sure, this goes a little bit back to the conversation that Mr. Gaines and I were having earlier about a very small group of people contributing a lot because of the progressive nature of our tax structure. So the stock market has been doing well. The economy has been, I would say the economy is doing well enough in comparison to what we anticipated. And so you're seeing a large increase in revenue compared to what we thought at the Budget Act in July. And in large part, our economists are saying there was a lot of uncertainty around tariffs and what tariffs would do to inflation and the cost of items in the grocery store and gas, et cetera. And the threat at the time was that there would be a 27% effective tariff rate on goods coming in. So we built that in July of 2025. The reality was it was more closer to 17%. So the thing about budgets is it's always in comparison to another year. And so last year, I think there was a lot of uncertainty around what would happen to prices and everyday goods and the stock market. So in that budget, we anticipated minimal growth and high inflation. We're not seeing that, or in comparison to what we thought it was, it's not as high. And so that's why we're projecting greater revenue. We're looking at inflation at a lower rate. We're looking at more gains in the stock market because the economy is doing better than we thought. So that is the reason that I think you're seeing the shift is we didn't know how things were going. We went conservatively and thought it could be, a lot of growth could be suppressed, but we're seeing that it didn't get as bad as that.
Thank you so much, Director Lee.
Well, thank you so much for being here today, and suffice to say, I think all of us will be watching the developments on the budget as they come, and we so much appreciate your work and really appreciate you coming here to brief us every day. We each have 10.4 million constituents, and so it's very helpful in explaining not just the resources that we oversee being brought into the system, but also the good ways that they're used through our budget. So very much appreciate you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you. And now, for staff, we do not have any public comments that are written.
That's correct.
On item 2. So we'll go ahead and go to our AT&T moderator. Moderator, if you could tell us if there's anyone on the line who would like to make a public comment on item 2.
Certainly. To make a comment, please press 1 followed by 0. 1 and then 0. And we presently have no one in queue.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Imran, did you wish to close on this item?
Yes, Madam Chair, just want to thank all the board members. I want to thank Director Lee once again for coming out, keeping this bond and relationship very strong as we all pay attention, and looking forward to the May revise. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And members, we're just about a half hour past the time for our 10-minute break. So before we go on to our other items.
Ms. Lieber, if we could just hold that off, I think we're going to try to include the photograph with the break.
Oh, okay.
Since we're going to be
okay.
doing that together, so we'll move on to the
Great.
resolutions, if that's okay with you guys?
Yes. So we'll go on to items 3 and 4, which are our consent agenda, and we'll be taking a single vote on the consent agenda. It includes both the board meeting minutes from December 16th, 2025, as well as 2 retirement resolutions for valued members of our staff who are getting to escape the day-to-day grind. And so if we could have a motion on the consent agenda of items 3 and 4. Vice Chair, did you wish to make that motion?
Yes.
To approve? Thank you so much. And second?
Second.
A second from Mr. Emron. And we do not have written comments on this. And we'll go to our AT&T moderator. Moderator, if you could please let us know if there's anyone who is making public comments regarding items 3 and 4.
Please press 1 and then 0 for comments. 1 followed by 0. And we have no one in queue. Please continue.
Okay, thank you so much. Members, I'm seeing no discussion. So Vice Chair Gaines has made a motion with Mr. Emron seconding. And Mr. Ketty, if you would please call the roll.
Chair Lieber,
Aye.
Vice Chair Gaines,
Aye.
Member Vasquez,
Aye.
Member Schaefer,
Aye.
Deputy Controller Emron.
Aye.
Thank you so much. The motion passes, and we would like to proceed into the recognitions. And Ms. Cicchetti, if you would please read the retirement resolution for Lori Skinner into the record.
Ms. Skinner is not here present today, but we're reading her resolution into the record. All righty. Honoring Lori Skinner on her retirement. Whereas Lori Skinner, supervising property appraiser in the County Assessed Properties Division of the Property Tax Department, retired on July 16th, 2025, after 15 years of outstanding and meritorious service to the state of California and the California State Board of Equalization. And whereas Lori began her career with the State Personnel Board on July 1st, 2010, as an office technician typing in Sacramento. And whereas she earned a promotion to Associate Property Appraiser for the Board of Equalization, State Assessed Properties Division on April 18th, 2011. And whereas soon after her employment with the board on October 31st, 2012, she was promoted to Senior Property Appraiser of the County Assessed Properties Division Legal Entity Ownership Program, LEOP. And whereas she worked with legal entities, taxpayers, and county assessors to determine whether a legal entity that had interests in California real property experienced a change in control or ownership. And whereas a result of her subject matter expertise, diligent work, and increasing responsibilities, she earned an appointment as supervising property appraiser in LEOP on October 20th, 2021. And whereas throughout her many years of service, she served the people of this state with fairness and dedication, proving her willingness and ability to provide excellent customer service to the board, taxpayers, and county assessors. Therefore, be it resolved that we, the members of the board, do hereby extend to Lori Skinner our sincere and grateful appreciation for her dedicated service to the California State Board of Equalization and to the state of California. Our congratulations to her well-earned retirement and our best wishes to her and her family for continued success, happiness, and good health in the years to come.
Thank you so much. And Ms. Skinner will be receiving a recognition that we have all signed on to. I appreciate the members doing that, and please convey our thanks and appreciation to her as well. Thank you. And we'll get a round of applause. And it's my understanding that James McCarthy is here with us today, and if you would please come up, and we'll have you be here at the podium while we read the resolution for you. Thank you so much for being here. And Mr. Cuddy, when you're ready.
Yes, I do have the honor of reading Mr. McCarthy's retirement resolution into the record. Honoring James McCarthy on his retirement. Whereas James McCarthy, Senior Petroleum and Mining Appraisal Engineer in the Assessment Practices Survey Division of the Property Tax Department, retired on December 30th, 2025, after 36 years of outstanding and meritorious service to the state of California and the California State Board of Equalization. And whereas James McCarthy began his career with the California State Board of Equalization on October 16, 1989, as an associate oil and gas engineer in the Assessment Practices Survey Division of the Property Tax Department. And whereas, as a result of diligent work, demonstrated ability, and increasing responsibilities, he advanced to the position of Senior Petroleum and Mining Appraisal Engineer on July 1st, 1994. With that same division, and whereas his sharp mind and attention to detail have enabled him to appraise, analyze, and process data involving very large and complicated oil, gas, liquids, geothermal, mining properties, water rights, and other natural resources, and plant installations or manufacturing processes, in addition to performing audit functions relative to ascertaining cost data from company books and records and to making economic studies and site inspections. And whereas throughout his many years of service, James McCarthy has served the people of the state with fairness and dedication and proven his willingness and ability to provide quality and exceptional services. Therefore, be it resolved that we, the members of the board, do hereby extend to James McCarthy our sincere and grateful appreciation for his dedicated service to the California State Board of Equalization and to the state of California. Our congratulations on his well-earned retirement and our best wishes to him and his family for continued success, happiness, and good health in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cicchetti. Now, I think we'll have some remarks from Mr. David Young.
Thank you, members of the board. For the record, my name is David Young, Deputy Director of the Property Tax Department at the board. So before I say a couple of words about Mr. McCarthy, I just wanted to also recognize the contribution of Ms. Lori Skinner and her 15 years with the board. She's been instrumental in improving many of our processes, and I do wish her, on behalf of the Property Tax Department and the board, very happy and prosperous retirement. So let me say a couple words about Mr. McCarthy. His title actually says a whole volume of what he's contributed to the state. He was our senior petroleum and mining appraisal engineer. Just as a little bit of context, much of what CAPD, the County Assessed Property Division, and our technical services unit, it was originally set up to provide counties with technical expertise and advice and guidance. One of the key functions of that unit was to provide somebody with knowledge of mining, petroleum, and how all that interplays with property taxes. Counties recognized that it was a very specialized field and it would be impractical for them to hire their own. And so part of that function of that unit was to provide such an expert and to provide guidance, uniformity to all 58 counties. Mr. McCarthy started with the board 36 years ago. He has worked his way up and he came in with the engineering degree and engineering background, but along with that, he not only had to learn the appraisal part of it, because not only do you have to understand the geology and engineering, you had to understand the appraisal part of it and actually put a value on it, and all within the context of our property tax system, the way it works under Prop 13. So it's actually a synthesis of three really important things. He's done that very, very well. He's a recognized expert amongst the assessors, along with our staff, and even industry. He participates yearly at conferences, and his input is really valued. It will be a hard task to replace him. And to speak of his character, not just his expertise, his character is, as he's winding down his career, he took on extra duties, amongst which was teaching classes to impart the knowledge to the next generation and revising a couple of handbooks so that it's actually memorialized for the future too. So with that, I commend Jim on his 36 years of service to the state and thank him. So, and wish him well for the future in his retirement. Thank you.
And we would love to give Mr. McCarthy the opportunity to come up and give us a few words if you'd like to.
Thank you, Chairwoman, and the rest of the board. I've enjoyed my 36 years. It's been an adventure. I learned early on that I wasn't going to change the world at the board, but I could be the best expert that the board had. And so I dedicated myself to learning what I needed to learn about appraisal work. I was already experienced with petroleum engineering, having worked in private industry for a number of years. I grew up in a mining town, so I had a little bit of knowledge there. But there was a lot more that I had to take on. And I appreciated the opportunity that I was given to learn and to grow in this position. And I just wanted to thank you.
Well, thank you so much for your dedication and the expertise and the story of your growth within the position. I think you've brought a really unique value to the state of California, and we appreciate your work so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now, yeah, let's give one more round of applause. And so we're going to keep you here for a couple minutes. I think we're going to have you come up on the stage, and we'll be taking our 10-minute break, but we're going to start that out with taking some photos so we can document this occasion. Thank you. We're almost ready to begin, so we've got about a 1-minute warning. Okay, members, we are back at 11:58. We have a hard stop at 12:30, so we're going to go on now to item 5, which is Executive Director's Report. And Ms. Stowers.
Good morning, Chair Lieber and honorable members of the board. I'm Yvette Stowers, your Executive Director. Today, I am pleased to present the agency's updated strategic plan for 2026 through 2030. Is it up? That's okay. I do believe you have a hard copy of our strategic plan at your dais. It's coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mary. This plan, as presented to you, represents both continuity and progress. It builds directly on the success of our previous strategic plan while positioning the BOE to meet evolving needs of California taxpayers and stakeholders. The previous strategic plan covered 2020 to 25, was developed during a period of significant organizational change. I don't know why we keep bringing that up. Anyway, current executive leadership worked collaboratively to establish a focused framework built on clear priorities, attainable goals, and measurable outcomes that approach to serve our organization well as accomplish our goal of rebuilding the agency. The plan also brought stability, strengthened our accountability, and helped our work across programs and discipline. That was our prior plan. Our current plan, 2630, continues that discipline and approach. The plan reflects thoughtful input from the executive leadership and is intentionally designed to build practical, measurable, and achievable goals. Rather than expanding in complexity, this plan sharpens our focus and reinforces what we know works. Slide 2. At the foundation of the strategic plan, we are updating our mission and vision statements. The revised mission reaffirms our role as a fair and transparent and accountable tax administration that serves the public of California with integrity and professionalism. The updated vision looks forward, emphasize public trust, operational excellence, and an organization that adapts to change while remaining grounded in our constitutional responsibilities. Slide 3. The strategic plan also includes refreshed organization values. These values reflect how we expect to show up for the public and for one another. Let's say that again. How we expect to show up for the public and from one another. These values emphasize integrity, innovation, collaboration, and operational excellence. Importantly, these are not mere aspirational statements. They are intended to guide decision-making, leadership behavior, and day-to-day operation across the organization. We live by these goals. Slide 4. The agency's strategic goals for 2026 to 2030 build directly on the progress we have already made. They focus on strengthening our core tax administration functions, improving services to taxpayers and stakeholders, investing in our workforce and modernizing systems and processes that enhance efficiency, accuracy, and transparency. Each goal is supported by clear, objective, and performance measures. This allows us to track progress, assess outcomes, and ensure continued accountability. Continued accountability. The plan is designed to be a living framework, one that supports informs decision-making and allows leadership to adjust strategies as conditions evolve while remaining aligned with the board's priorities. In closing, this strategic plan reflects a mature organization that understands its mission, values its people, and is committed to continuous improvement. It honors the progress achieved under the previous plan and provide a clear, realistic roadmap for the next 5 years. And lastly, we appreciate the board's guidance and oversight, and we look forward to continuing our work together to serve California with fairness, transparency, and integrity. Members, that concludes my report, and I'm available to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, and I appreciate this strategic plan very much. I think it contributes greatly to the story of the BOE and what it does for taxpayers and for the success of our state. And I think it's been highlighted and articulated so well in this report. So thank you very much. Any other comments or questions for Ms. Dowers? Mr. Vasquez.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Ms. Dowers, for this report. It looks like it's pretty well laid out, and really wanted to thank you and your team, because I know you guys have worked real hard on this, and you've always been really consistent in terms of, one, being real strategic and developing this plan. And I know we're in the process of modernizing the whole IT system moving forward. So I guess my question is, beneath that, since we're in that process of this modernization, do we have something in place that can carry out this plan until we modernize or get into the IT eventual goal, or reorg, I guess I should say?
Thank you, Member Vasquez, for the question. Our current technology system is so outdated.
I know.
And we have so many patchworks to make it work. And we're at the stage now that it really is not reliable. Say that, Ms. Taylor, Mr. McCall, but it's not reliable. So we are looking to modernize our technology. We do have a BCP, budget change proposal, asking for finance to support us changing our system. It appears that the Department of Finance is in agreement with it. It is in their it's in their January budget. But of course, we have to go through the process and get an approval from everyone. But until then, we will continue to work with our outdated, antiquated system. Again, outdated, antiquated, and we do need to come up to the current century.
That was my guess, that's all I'm saying.
It's-
Because, I mean, this looks good, but I'm thinking if you don't have, like you said, the
Yeah,
structure in place
yeah,
and
we're-
the
we're-
technology, you know, I'm sure that's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, it is a challenge, and we are, you know, like I said, we're going through the process. We have, Ms. Taylor, can you? We have so many cooks involved in this. Ms. Taylor, can you give us an update on how we got the approval from CDT, the PAL process?
Catherine Taylor, Chief of Board Proceedings and Operations Support Services. Yes, on January 10, or actually on January 9th, when the governor presented his budget, the budget change proposal that we submitted for the IT modernization project was included. So in order to be included in that process, we've already been working with the California Department of Technology to go through their project approval lifecycle. They're a control agency, just as Department of Finance. So at this time, we have completed PAL Stage 1, and then with the inclusion in the governor's budget, we've completed PAL Stage 2. So we are currently in Stage 3. And at this time, in the next few months, we'll be, of course, Ms. Dowers and us will be going to the legislature to discuss our project. And simultaneously, we're preparing a request for proposal that would be put out through the public procurement process. And once, if we are included and we are funded in the upcoming budget, then we will be able to do a contract execution. So you'll hear more as we go along, but for now, it's moving forward.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Schaefer.
Can I ask a question reference?
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. This is why you should be.
Excuse me, don't go
Promoted.
too far, Ms. Taylor. Vice Chair has a question on this piece of
On this- just
information,
this-
then we'll go to Mr.
This
Schaefer.
comment, just because we've seen so many problems with technology upgrades and changes. I mean, historically with the state of California, and when I had the opportunity to serve on the board of Franchise Tax Board, they seem to do a pretty good job with that, at least from what I was able to ascertain. And so I'm just wanting to make sure that we're taking necessary precautions. And when I was at FTB, they indicated that they had been working with BOE on some technology-related stuff. So I'm wondering, have they advised in the past, or?
That's a very fair question, Member Gaines, Vice Chair Gaines. We do communicate with the Franchise Tax Board. They have been very successful with their technology project, EDR, and we are listening to them and following their lead.
Yeah, that's great.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Excellent.
Good, thank you.
Mr. Schaefer.
Thank you. We're all dealing with public monies here, and I think one of the most important words is efficiency and how we deal with it, how we handle it. If we were Amazon or Procter & Gamble, we wouldn't be as, we'd have to explain to nobody but the stockholders. But I'm sorry to see that we don't have the word efficiency in our mission or our vision. I would like to see the word mission say that our mission is to serve Californians through fair, efficient, and transparent administration of all these things. Just adding the one word efficiency in the opening line of mission. If we had that there, it would give all of us an opportunity to question the common sense financially of whatever we're doing. I don't think it's sufficient for us to have taken a couple of years to close my $6,000 a month office that I was unable to use because my prime office really is 500 miles away where I live and where my constituents are. I don't think it's sufficient for us to take 12 minutes of every meeting to have a chit chat with the AT&T operator because there's 25 people out here, times 12 is 300 minutes, which is 5 hours down the drain of human. See, I think we should be open, each one of us, not just Mike Schaefer, to efficiency of how we operate, and especially the board and chair and vice chair. And I would move that I'm not going to be here after 2030. I'm just here for the coming year. But I would think we should make it of record that the next time our mission is put into print, that we just add the one word efficiency along with fair and transparent.
Well, I think before Ms. Stowers weighs in, I just wanted to comment on the strategic goals on the reverse of this sheet. One of the top 3 strategic goals is to streamline the internal processes for greater efficiency.
Oh, I see the word over here. I had not seen that before. You're right.
Oh, okay. And maybe Ms. Towers could touch on this too, because the BOE is a GovOps.
I would take the word efficiency and make it efficient with a T on it and stick it also up under mission.
Yes, and we are also one of 12 or 13 GovOps agencies, so we are subject to the efficiency measures adopted within that framework. Is that correct?
Thank you, Chair Lieber and Member Schaefer, for your questions. We strive to be efficient as possible.
Could we put that in writing because,
When we developed our strategic plan, it was a process with all senior management, and we asked for keywords on what they felt was most important. And that is how we revised our mission, our vision, and we also came up with our strategic goals. I understand your concern about efficiency, and I do believe that we are an extremely efficient agency. We are always looking at what it costs to operate, but at the same time, we have to balance a transparent and open to the public agency. So there's a balancing act there. And I support, and I believe the majority of this board support, seeking out transparency and allowing the public to participate in our meetings, even if that requires us to go out to the AT&T operator and ask if there's a public comment, and even if that operator tells us there's no one keying in at this time.
the operator could
That
just as well
is
be
our-
talking
that-
to Ms. Porter.
No,
over here.
that, again, as I discussed with you yesterday, the operator cannot just contact the clerk of the board. It has to be, each time an item is called, we have to ask the operator, is there anyone willing to make a public comment? We cannot do it, and we should not do it at the start of the meeting, because a person may not be online at that time, or a person may not know they want to make a comment until the conversation is going on. This board may have a conversation on an agenda item that the public did not realize. Oh, legal's here to get me out of trouble. But the public did not realize that they wanted to comment. So the majority of this board has supported going out to the AT&T operator and asking for comments. And, sir, you are the
Yeah,
only
but we
one.
don't have to babysit the public that much. The public has a duty to watch the meeting and know what we're doing if they want to participate. And when they see that it's time for public comment, they should be calling in to our staff here.
Excuse me,
And we can ask the staff, we can say, staff, has there been any calls without us having a dialogue with AT&T ourselves?
if I may,
Before we turn it into a colloquy, that this was the time for a question or a brief statement, and I think Mr. Schaefer's views are well taken, and it's something that we are striving to do. The technology is now up to where we can just perceive things quickly, but we do have to go through this section of our agenda because we have a time certain and we're at risk of not taking a lunch hour. But this is going to be an ongoing process where we're going to have many opportunities at each meeting to
Madam
comment.
Chair, I'd like a 1 minute brief comment on that. I was told that I could put this on the agenda as an item, so I immediately prepared an agenda item and sent it to Ms. Stowers. And then Ms. Stowers calls me and says, and I said, I don't think you should have to bother us. It's really an administrative matter where you can just say, have the information conveyed to our staff and we can ask our staff. That would be just as legal. And she asked me to take the agenda item off, that she would look into it and see if we could do it administratively. So I took off my agenda item, and then she says this week to me, Mr. Schaefer, we can't do anything at this time. I don't know if she means we can't do anything until Trump retires, or can't do anything until summertime. She promised me within 24 hours, she's going to give me something in writing.
Well, I
which she gave me
appreciate that,
orally.
Mr. Schaefer, but that's not within this agenda item as it's been publicly noticed.
You're right,
And I'm
you're right.
intuiting that that's why we have legal up here. But I pledge to work with you on getting that to the board. I know that we've had discussion before, and it was lengthy discussion, but we can work on getting you an agenda item.
As soon
that's
as I get
about
her
that.
email, I will resubmit it for next month as a member item where it should be. All right, thank you.
Okay, we'll do that, but we have to stick to what is here under our open meetings laws. So legal, anything else to add to that? Okay.
No, thank
And
you.
Mr. Emron, did you have questions or comments also?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Schaefer, for your comments as well. Definitely a prickly issue. So, in regards to the strategic plan, I do want to say how excited I am about this. It seems like starting the year and starting 2026, we're finally turning the page, because the last mission was to rebuild, revitalize, but now it feels like we're fully functioning. Everything is kind of firing on all cylinders. I do really appreciate the innovation part of that. Living in California, being state employees, it's at the forefront of what we do here and leading the way. And then also internally understanding our operations always need to improve, and we find ways to improve that, and the collaboration is important too. We had 2 retirements today, so it's like filling in that pipeline. And then lastly, I love 2.2 objective, develop future leaders, which I think is so important, because that's sometimes in government and bureaucracy, it's not always shine a light on, but I think it's important that we understand that the baton's always gonna pass, and we just have to make sure that we have people ready to run the race. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Controller.
Thank you, Mr. Emron. Ms. Towers, did you want to close on this?
No, that is the conclusion of my report. I'm really grateful for the senior management, all of our division chiefs, and the chief deputy, and the chief counsel. I mean, strategic planning for some is a headache, but for others, they really embrace it. And my senior management team really embrace the strategic planning. So thank you guys for embracing this. I look forward to a very successful 26 to 2030 year. I doubt if I'd be here that long, but that being said, we are developing our future leaders, so somebody will be here and would take the baton.
Lastly, too, Madam Chair, if I may, I just also really appreciate how in our mission statement you put the taxes that we oversee and administer. I think that's so important. When people call, still get CDTFA calls, still get OTA calls, but this really hones in. And then lastly, just so easy to read too. So just an overall job well done. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, I'm glad you brought that up, because when it came to the mission statement, we had a good group conversation about our mission, because we were still using the mission from BOE 1.0, and it did not reflect who we were. So we put our thinking caps on, and we really identify who we are. And that's why it's in our mission statement. Thank you. I know it's almost 12:15, maybe 12:30, so let me be quiet if I may.
Oh, thank you so much for this presentation. It's very valuable. And we have 8 minutes left, and we had intended to get through 5 items. But how about if can we take our operational priorities report?
Yeah, I think Ms. Benatti would be very brief.
Oh, thank you. And then we're gonna maybe return to these items after our lunch or at the end of the day. So I hope that doesn't do damage to anyone's plans. Ms. Renati.
Good afternoon, Chair Lieber and honorable members. I am Lisa Renati, Chief Deputy Director. Today, I'll give a brief report on the operational priorities currently underway. The first item is our staffing and workforce capacity. We recently filled 2 vacant positions, one through an internal promotion and one to a person new to the BOE. This is allow us to recognize the talent within our organization and also bring in a new perspective and skills to our team. We are nearing completion on a comprehensive workforce development and succession plan. It's focused on building internal capabilities, preparing future leaders, and ensuring continuity in key functions across the organization. The workforce and succession plan is designed to support long-term organizational goals and stability, and directly aligns with our priorities outlined in the strategic plan for 2026 through 2030. We anticipate presenting this to the board and to the agency in the coming months. Turning to the fiscal status of our agency, our expenditure reports through December 25 show that we're expected to spend about 90% of our budget appropriations. This reflects our careful planning and disciplined spending aligned with operational needs and the approved budget. We continue to closely monitor our expenditures, making sure they're mission critical, and so that we can ensure we have the funds available should we need them. The last item is mandated training. By statute and civil service rules, state agencies must provide employees with specific training courses. Some courses are completed annually, some every 2 years, some every 4 years. But in order to be consistent and make sure that everyone takes those classes, we have instituted a training cycle where everyone completes the same training at the same time. The training courses are self-paced, they're online. Right now, we are working on, for the end of January, everyone finishing ethics training, harassment prevention training, and ethics training. I think like defensive driving, ethics, and harassment prevention. Anyways, the training is essential. It maintains safe, respectful, accountable workplace, and we are actively tracking those completions to make sure everyone does that. And this concludes my report. I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank
I think
you
I went
so
quick enough,
much.
too.
Questions for Ms. Renati? Okay, seeing none, I think I scared everybody into silence up here, I'm not sure. But shall we take the TRAO report? Thank you, Ms. Renati, for being so brief. We appreciate you. And now we'll go to Ms. Thompson for item 7.
Good afternoon, Chair Lieber and honorable board members. My name is Lisa Thompson, the Chief of the Taxpayer Rights Advocate Office, and I'm here to provide you an activities update for the TRA office as far as completed cases for December. There were a total of 19 cases completed, 1 in District 1, 10 in District 2, 3 were in District 3, and 5 were in District 4. So of those 19 cases, 4 were in the administrative category and 15 in the valuation category. The memo that's attached to the public agenda notice will detail all of the topics by count, but the highest number was valuation. In the valuation category was change in ownership topic with 4 cases. There were 3 exclusion cases this last month. 2 pertain to the parent-child exclusion and 1 for base year value transfers for disaster relief. This concludes my update. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions? Vice Chair, did you have any questions about those numbers? Okay.
Thank you.
Seeing no one, thank you. I have a very unquiet district. It's a rare month when they're asleep at the wheel. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, do we have enough time for, you can do it? Okay, fabulous. We'll ask Mr. Young to come up and give us the Property Tax Deputy Director's report.
Thank you, honorable board members. Once again, David Young, Deputy Director of the Property Tax Department. We have 3 reports for you. I will start with the first 2 by Ms. Lauren Keach. She'll give you an update on LTAs, letters to assessors, and our training and certification program, and will be followed by Mr. Jack McCool on the state assessed properties. So with that, I'll turn it over.
Thank you. Ms. Keach, thank you.
Hello. Good morning, Chair Lieber and honorable board members. I'm Lauren Keach, Chief of the County Assessed Properties Division. I apologize, it's the afternoon now. Today, I'll provide a brief report on letters to assessors. Attached to this month's agenda is a memo on letters to assessors, which provides a list of LTAs issued since the report at the last board meeting, and a link to the BOE's website where a list of all LTAs issued to date can be found. As of the date of the attached memo, the agency issued a total of 46 LTAs for calendar year 2025, 3 so far for calendar year 2026, and 9 since the report at the last board meeting. Those 9 LTAs are summarized in order as follows. An LTA from the Assessment Practices Survey Division to issue the Glenn County Assessment Sampling Survey. An LTA from the Legislative Research and Statistics Division to report the factors for the taxable publicly owned land. An LTA from Assessment Practices Survey Division to issue the San Mateo County Assessment Practices Survey Report. 3 LTAs from the County Assessed Properties Division to issue Assessor's Handbook, Section 531, Residential Building Costs, Section 534, Rural Building Costs, and Section 581, Equipment and Fixtures Index, Percent Good and Valuation Factors. An LTA from the Assessment Practices Surveys Division to issue the Santa Barbara County Assessment Sampling Survey Report. An LTA from the County Assessed Properties Division to publish the 2026-27 California Consumer Price Index, followed and concluding with an LTA to publish the vessel valuation factors for lien date 2026. And this concludes my report on letters to assessors. I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much. Questions for Ms. Keach? No? Okay.
Okay. Moving along then, I'll now provide a brief report on the BOE's appraisal training and certification program. For the 2025-26 fiscal year, BOE staff scheduled 40 classes and 2 webinars. Additionally, 7 classes were scheduled with instructors in county assessors' offices for their staff. Of the courses taught by the BOE, 25 have been completed since the beginning of the fiscal year, including 4 since the last board meeting. In addition, both webinars have been completed to date. For courses taught by the counties, 5 have been completed since the beginning of the fiscal year. And as always, we continue to offer our existing online basic training courses through American River College and California State University, Sacramento, as well as our online courses and self-study training sessions that are available on the BOE's website. This concludes my report on training and certification. I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions about training and certification? Okay, seeing none, we'll go on to Mr. McCool. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Chair Lieber and honorable members. My name is Jack McCool, Chief of the State Assessed Properties Division. SAPD staff have completed several property tax audits, and many of those audits will be coming before the board in the next few months for the board's consideration. Now that the 2025 appeal season has concluded, SAPD will be concentrating on preparations for the 2026 appraisal season. Staff are currently working on the annual replacement cost new factors and the percent good factors, which are used in our cost approach appraisals. We publish these factors each year based on data collected and analyzed by our staff. We will continue to publish those factors on the agency's open data portal. Staff are also working diligently on compiling data for this year's annual capitalization rate study. Appraisers with knowledge and experience in each of our industry groups are working together to obtain the market data used in this study. The data is analyzed by our unitary appraisers, along with input from state assessees. And finally, the date to file the annual state assessed property statement is March 1st, and our staff is already receiving extension requests from state assessees. That concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. McCool? Okay, seeing none, great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we'll go ahead and take Mr. Angelo too. Let's see how fast you can do it.
I know that's a challenge. I'll be as fast as I possibly can. Good morning, Chair Lieber, honorable members. Ted Angelo, Legislative Director and Chief of the Legislative Research and Statistics Division. Today, I'll do a brief update on the legislative activity for January, the second year of the 25-26 session. The legislature returned on January 5th, and the Senate swore in its newest leader in pro tem, Monique Limon. Many new leadership and committee assignments have followed since. And however, Senator McNerney remains the chair of the Senate Rev and Tax Committee, and Assemblymember Gibson remains chair on the Assembly side. The House of Origin deadline, or the deadline for bills to move out of their first house, is January 31st. The Appropriations Committees in both houses met last week to address the first house 2-year bills that I've mentioned to you before. Senate Appropriations passed SCA 4 and its board-supported companion bill, SB 623, that would allow the combining of the veterans and homeowners exemptions. The committee also amended and passed SB 288 Ciardo, which proposes giving people in probate more time to establish ownership and transfer base year property values under Prop 19. Again, we've discussed both of those in December. These bills were headed to the floor, and actually 288 passed yesterday before I put this together. And also SB 623 is on special consent, so that's probably being taken up today. The deadline again is the 31st. We expect the legislative proposal approved by the board in December that we covered in detail, extending the sunset date governing pipeline rights-of-way in Rev and Tax Code Section 401.10 to be introduced as a Senate Rev and Tax Committee bill in late February. I will keep you posted on its status. And I'll also keep you updated on new legislation, the deadline being February 20th. I continue to talk to legislative staff about bills that could be coming up affecting BOE property tax in general. New bills are filtering in now, and most will be introduced closer to the February 20th introduction deadline. My office will continue to keep you updated with weekly status reports and copies of analyses. This concludes my report, and again, I'm free to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, any questions? Mr. Schaefer?
Ted, I was interested in AB 351, McKinnon Campaign Contributions Agency Officers. I looked it up on my cell phone, so I wouldn't have to ask the question, and they said AB 351 deals with disposal of human remains, but that was in the 2022 session. Could you update me?
So I will take a look at that, and you said it was regarding campaign contributions?
Yes, it says Campaign Contributions Agency Officers.
Okay, I will take a look at it. I don't have the details on my update list today.
Right, and you have my email, oz.blueman@yahoo.com.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Imran?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Very quickly, we worked really hard on the wildfire. We had a lot of hearings on the insurance, and the legislature is starting to implement home hardening rebates as well. I believe there's 2 programs: California Safe Homes Grant Program, as approved AB 888, and then California Wildfire Mitigation Program. It's a dual program with CAL FIRE OES. Just, you don't have to commit anything now, but I wonder if there's any type of website links or anything that we can do for our taxpayer constituents to kind of be able to get those resources. And that's something I could talk to the executive director more about, but I think it's very, very important that we kind of continue this work, especially as the legislature starts to allocate funds. Thank you.
I believe, and I'll just say briefly, I believe that's in our communications area for getting that information out. It's well taken. So I'll leave that for our incoming communications director to be able to coordinate that with the board. But I can't speak to that right now. But I understand, and again, home hardening is something that they're looking at from a tax perspective for property tax. There's no bill introduced yet, but they've been talking about that. But in terms of communicating it to the public, that would be in the communications realm.
Yeah, the reason the nexus is because it is on property. There are talks about property tax rebates, and then also the home hardening rebates. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Vasquez.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Angelo. Just one quick question. I know we followed it last year and we supported Archuleta on his bill with the veterans exemption. And I think now he changed a little bit so they would qualify potentially for both, because usually they don't exercise their right for the veterans because they can't apply for both. And apparently ours is less, so I'm glad to hear that that's moving forward. I don't know if it has legs yet, but.
Yeah, those are the 2 that I referenced. And
Right.
the SCA would have to go on the ballot and be approved by the voters because it's a constitutional change.
Oh,
So
okay.
SB 623 is the companion bill, And so that does the statutory changes if approved by the voters.
Got it, thanks.
Yep.
Okay, and Vice Chair?
Yeah, just following on comments by Member Emron. I had read there were also discounts that would be applied to homeowners, so that if they're doing certain home hardening aspects to their home, there would be a corresponding discount. Can we get more information on that too?
Home hardening discounts for homeowners?
Yes.
On what discount? What would be reduced?
Be a credit for like defensible space or home hardening.
On your property tax bill?
No, discount applied to your homeowner's insurance.
Oh, homeowner's insurance.
Yeah.
To the extent that the legislators are considering rebates, discounts, and credits for home hardening, to the extent that it relates to property tax, we will track it. But if it is an income tax credit, although they're calling it property tax, if it's an income tax credit, and my background of 40 years says when you talk a credit, that's income tax, that will be outside of our purview.
Okay.
Okay, so that would be something that Mr. Angelo would not be watching, but FTB will be doing the bill analysis.
How about
And for
homeowners
those
insurance?
Homeowners insurance, our role in homeowners insurance is limited to appeals. So it's very limited.
Yeah.
But if there's something introduced that requires the insurer to change your policy, we will look at it and we will present it to the
Okay.
board's attention, but we will not be doing a bill analysis because it will be outside of our preview.
See, I thought a bill was passed and signed last year in reference to these discounts on homeowners policies, but I can pursue that on my own.
Yeah, there's a couple of bills that are pending right now dealing with insurance.
But I'm talking about signed bills.
Yeah,
In the
yeah,
last session.
Well, we can research that more. And so do you have a close on this one?
I would just say we're limited to the gross premiums tax when it comes to insurance issues. We've alluded to them because of the fires and some of the things but in terms of what we track for an agency, it's the gross premiums tax and how that fund is handled. So homeowners insurance credits and taxations, those are not something that we track as a board, but I can help point your staff in the right direction.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll pursue it on our own. Thank you.
That would be great. Thank you so much.
Yep, that's it.
Is that good? Okay.
Sorry for
I'm not
I
trying
tried to go
rush
as
you,
fast as I could.
But we do have to take our break, so real quickly, we are going to go to our AT&T moderator and see if there's anyone waiting on the line who would like to make comments on items 5 through 9, our executive director's reports.
To make a comment, please press 1 and then 0. 1 and then 0.
Okay, we're not hearing anyone.
There's no one in queue. Please
Jump in
continue.
there. Okay, thank you so much. So we will now take our lunch recess, and will we need to wait until 1:41 to reconvene? We'll reconvene at 1:30. So, thank you, everyone.